The city sparkled beneath her penthouse windows, a sea of light stretching endlessly across the horizon. From this height, she could see everything. The glowing towers, the winding streets, the lives moving quickly below her. Everything looked perfect. Yet as she set her wine glass on the marble counter, the silence pressed in too tightly. She had built an empire from nothing. Her face had graced the covers of business magazines. Her speeches quoted in boardrooms across the country. The world called her successful. But behind the shimmering glass of her sprawling apartment, she was just a woman sitting alone at a table that could fit 20, with only one plate. The fortune she owned couldn't fill the empty seats. The staff wished her happy birthday each year. The assistants sent flowers. Even business partners remembered with cards and calls. But none of it mattered when she blew out candles by herself. Whispering wishes no one heard. Holidays weren't much different. She decorated her home every December. Wreaths on the doors, lights on the balconies. But when the gifts were exchanged, it was always staff handing them off, or neighbors sending polite gestures. She smiled, thanked them warmly, but then slipped into her room. The laughter she heard from their holiday dinners only a faint echo she wished she could share in. She tried to bury the loneliness in her success. Every meeting, every headline, every award she accepted was another shield, a way to say she was fine. But at night, when the city settled and her phone no longer buzzed, the truth came back. She wasn't fine. She was tired of surface smiles. She was tired of acting like the void inside wasn't real. Walking into her home each evening only made it clearer. Endless polished floors, artwork on every wall, chandeliers glittering above. All of it wasted. When she set her handbag down at the door and no one looked up to greet her. Friends, they were scarce. Money had driven wedges between her and the few she once trusted. Everyone wanted something, whether it was an investment, advice, or an introduction. No one asked her what she wanted. No one asked how she felt. That was her normal, the rhythm of an empty but glittering life. On most nights, she scrolled her phone, out of habit with no expectation of anything, beyond another email, another alert from her company. She didn't know that one night, a message meant for someone else would slip into her world. Not from a CEO, not from a tycoon, but from a tired single father trying to make it through his day. And she never could have known that mistake would be the start of the one thing she thought money could never buy: love. Her phone buzzed late one evening as she sat curled into the corner of her spotless white sofa, television flickering across the room but not holding her attention. She glanced at the screen, expecting another company notification or an assistant's reminder for tomorrow's schedule. Instead, the text was short and startling in its simplicity. Running late. Could you please give Emma dinner? I'll pick her up by 8. She frowned, rereading it. No business jargon. No polite pleasantries. Just a dad, clearly tired and rushed, sending a request. She almost deleted it immediately, but something in her chest tugged at her. She typed back, I think you sent this to the wrong number. It only took a moment before 3 dots appeared on her screen. Then the reply came, Oh, I'm so sorry. It's been a long day. Thank you for letting me know. That could have been the end. A mistake, a polite correction, nothing more. But the simplicity of it lingered with her longer than she expected. She stared at the phone, her thumb hovering over the keyboard, and before she had time to overthink, she wrote, Don't worry. Happens to all of us. The reply didn't come right away, and she set the phone down with an odd weight in her chest. 5 minutes later, it buzzed again. I guess it's obvious I'm not great at juggling everything. My daughter's the best thing in my life, but sometimes it feels like I'm failing her. Sorry, you didn't sign up to hear all that? Her breath caught. Nobody ever sent her messages like that. Nobody ever confessed small fears or worries. In her world, everyone polished their words or rehearsed every syllable. And here was a stranger, apologizing and opening up in the same sentence. Without thinking, she replied, You sound like a good dad. Caring enough to worry means you're not failing. She set the phone aside again, but now her heartbeat was unsteady, restless. She tried to focus on the television. But when his next message buzzed, she couldn't stop herself from smiling even before she read it. It simply said, Thank you. Really needed to hear that. For the first time in a long while, she closed her eyes with a faint sense of warmth in her chest. She hadn't spoken to him beyond those few words. She didn't know his face, his last name, or his story. But the mistake had already slipped through the silence of her life. And it wasn't done yet. The following days felt different. She went about her usual schedule, morning meetings, endless calls, polite small talk with investors. But late in the evening, when her phone lit up, her mood shifted. What began as a mistaken message slowly became a string of small exchanges. At first, it was simple things. He would send, "Hope your day wasn't as exhausting as mine," with a tired laughing emoji. She would reply with something light like, "Exhausting is my specialty." He chuckled back with, "Single parenting is mine." Then came the stories. He talked about his daughter, Emma, how much she loved drawing, how she insisted on making pancakes by herself every Sunday, and how more batter ended up on the counter than in the pan. He admitted his fears, too, that he wasn't giving her everything she deserved, that sometimes her clothes weren't new like other kids in her class, or that he had to miss some school events because of work. She read each message slowly, letting him pour out the kind of honesty no one in her life ever gave her. And for the first time, she wasn't treated like a business figure, not a symbol of wealth, just another person sharing the quiet struggles of life. She began opening up, too. At first, small confessions, complaints about long meetings, how empty the penthouse felt. Then more personal truths, like how despite everything she had achieved, it felt as though she had nothing real to come home to. He never responded with awe or flattery about her success. He didn't even know who she really was. He simply answered with warmth, "Then maybe what you need isn't more, but someone to share less with." That single line stayed with her for hours. Their conversation stretched later into the night. Some talks were serious, about family, about loss, about wounds they didn't show to others. Other times they laughed, sharing simple jokes. She found herself waiting for his messages as if they were the most important part of her day. She didn't tell anyone at work. She didn't mention it to acquaintances. This connection was hers, untouched, fragile, and pure. And though they had not yet met, she realized something quietly one night as she reread his words. The loneliness she had carried for years no longer felt like an unmovable weight. It was lifting, message by message. And it was because of a stranger who wasn't really a stranger anymore. The morning of their meeting carried a different kind of weight in her chest. Though she had walked into boardrooms stacked with executives and negotiated deals worth millions, she hadn't felt nerves quite like this in years. She dressed simply, more simply than she had in a decade. No designer labels shouting, no diamond watch on her wrist. Just jeans, a plain sweater, her hair loose on her shoulders. She wasn't going as the millionaire everyone whispered about. She was going as herself. The cafe was small and warm, exactly the kind of place that didn't appear in glossy magazines. When she opened the door, she spotted them immediately. A little girl at a table by the window, leaning over a notebook, her curls falling as she drew. And beside her, the man she had been trading words with late into the night for weeks. He was bent slightly over his coffee, eyes tired but kind, wearing clothes that looked neat but well-loved. She felt her throat tighten. He wasn't dazzling, he wasn't performing, and that was the most beautiful part. He looked up suddenly, as though some instinct had told him she'd arrived. Their eyes met, and for a long second, nothing else in the room moved. Recognition bloomed in both of them. A sense that they weren't introducing themselves as strangers. They were catching up with someone already known. He stood quickly, nervousness flickering in his smile. "So, it's really you," he said. She laughed softly, walking toward him. "Yes, it's me." The three of them sat together, and the hours that followed unfolded effortlessly. Conversation that had lived on glowing phone. Screens found a new pulse in the space they shared. He spoke about Emma with pride and vulnerability, telling stories that held both struggles and triumphs. She listened, not as someone searching for flaws, but as someone drinking in every piece of who he was. She shared parts of herself, too, admitting the loneliness she had lived through behind the curtain of excessive wealth. And instead of shrinking from it, he met her honesty with understanding. Emma tugged at her sleeve midway through, showing her a page in her drawing pad. "A home with 3 stick figures. That's me," she said proudly, pointing. That's Daddy, and that's you. The woman's vision blurred as tears pushed against her eyes. She brushed Emma's hair gently, her heart falling so quickly into place it was almost frightening. In that quiet cafe, with no glamour, no flashing lights, no roaring success stories, she realized something she had never fully known before. The wrong message had led her here, to the right people, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't alone at the top of the world. She was standing, finally, where love lived.